I never asked to be born, and honestly, my parents didn't plan for me either. My mom always says she was young and in love with a guy who couldn't stay loyal. Next thing she knew, she was pregnant with me. My name's Brenda. The mistake. Mom wanted to get rid of me, but both sets of grandparents stepped in and stopped her. Back then, raising kids alone wasn't an option, so my parents got married, and I came along, kicking and screaming 7 months later. Dad never let me forget that I ruined his life. "There goes my youth," he'd mutter every time he saw me. To him, I wasn't a daughter, just something holding him back from the life he wanted. For 8 years, it was just the three of us in a small house, me trying to stay out of Dad's way, Mom cooking and cleaning like her life depended on it, and Dad coming home from work with a scowl that got worse when he looked at me. Then came the miracle, my little sister Emma. She was the child they actually wanted. From then on, I was pushed to the background. "Brenda, watch your sister." "Brenda, be quiet, Emma's sleeping." "Brenda, why can't you be more like Emma?" Everything was about Emma. She got new clothes, I got hand-me-downs. She got praise, I got scolded. She got love, and I got used to being ignored. By the time I was 8, I was doing most of the housework, cleaning toilets, mopping floors, dusting shelves, you name it, I did it. But no one ever thanked me. It was just expected. The one thing I didn't mind was cooking. Mixing ingredients and creating flavors felt like magic to me. I remember the first time I made my special lasagna for a family gathering. My Aunt Amy took a bite and said, "Rebecca, this is incredible. When did you become such a great cook?" Mom smiled and soaked up the praise while I stood in the corner, invisible as always. "Actually, I made it," I said quietly. Aunt Amy laughed like it was a joke. "Brenda likes to help in the kitchen sometimes," Mom quickly said, still enjoying the compliments. I shut my mouth, knowing it didn't matter. No one ever believed me anyway. As I grew up, the kitchen became my safe place. While Emma got all the attention and gifts, I found peace in cooking. By high school, I could make a pot roast even Dad couldn't complain about. "Not bad," he'd grunt while eating. Coming from him, that was high praise. But for me, it wasn't just about feeding my family. I had big dreams. Every night, I'd close my eyes and imagine it my own restaurant, full of happy people enjoying the food I created. One night at dinner, I couldn't keep it in anymore. "I want to open a restaurant someday," I said. The silence was unbearable. Then Emma laughed. "You? A restaurant?" Mom looked worried, like I'd said I wanted to be an astronaut. Dad didn't even look up from his plate. "Restaurants fail, all the time. You'd be broke in a month," he said. "But I'm good at cooking," I protested. "Everyone likes my food." "Everyone likes free food," Dad scoffed. "Doesn't mean they'd pay for it." Emma chimed in with a fake sweet voice. "Maybe you could work at KFC's, Brenda. They're always hiring." When it was time for college, I had my heart set on the best culinary school I could find. To my surprise, Dad agreed to pay for it. "This is your inheritance," he said roughly. "Don't expect anything else. The house, the savings, that's all going to Emma." I should have been hurt, but I was too excited about culinary school to care. It was my chance to prove myself, to learn from real chefs and get better at what I loved. College was a whirlwind of chopping, sautéing, and baking. For the first time, I felt like I belonged. My classmates appreciated my cooking, and my instructors praised my creativity. But when I graduated, reality hit hard. With no money for my own place, I had to move back home. The difference between my exciting college life and my family's indifference was huge. "So, you're a chef now," Emma smirked at dinner. "Does that mean you'll be doing all the cooking from now on?" Before I could answer, Mom jumped in. "That's a great idea. Brenda can cook, and you can focus on your studies, dear." Just like that, I was back to being the family maid, only this time with a culinary degree gathering dust on my shelf. I did manage to get a job as an assistant chef at a local restaurant. The pay wasn't great, but it was a start. Every night, I'd come home tired, only to be handed a list of chores. "This is your rent," Mom would say. "You're not a child anymore. You need to contribute." But I didn't let it break me. Every spare moment, I kept dreaming, planning, and working toward my goal. I knew that someday I'd have my own restaurant. And when that day came, I'd show them what I was really capable of. 4 years dragged by, each day just like the last, cooking, cleaning, and dreaming of something better. I worked really hard at the restaurant while watching Emma get everything I ever wanted. The day Emma started high school, Dad came home grinning. "Emma, honey," he called out. "Come see what I got you." We all went outside, and sitting in the driveway, like some shiny slap in the face, was a brand new car. A car? But I don't even know how to drive yet, Emma said, her eyes wide. Dad laughed, tossing her the keys. "You will soon enough. My girl deserves the best from the start." I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. When I turned 14, all I got was a second-hand bike, and that was only because I needed it to get to my part-time job. But for Emma, it didn't stop there. Every week, there was something new for her: a new iPhone, a MacBook Pro, designer clothes. They even remodeled her bedroom, making it look like a luxury hotel room. Meanwhile, I was still in my old room, with the same faded wallpaper and the same creaky bed I'd had since I was 8. At least the spiders kept me company. I started thinking about moving out. Maybe I could find a roommate and share rent on a tiny apartment. Anything would be better than this constant reminder that I didn't matter. Then Christmas came around. I had been saving up, determined to get everyone nice gifts for once, to show them I wasn't the failure they thought I was. I ended up buying lottery tickets for everyone, not the cheap scratch-offs, but tickets for the big jackpot. Christmas morning, I handed out the envelopes, trying not to seem too eager. Mom opened hers first, and her face fell. "Oh, lottery tickets," she said. Dad snorted. "What is this, a gas station gift?" Emma didn't even open hers. She just rolled her eyes. "Gee, thanks, Brenda." Real thoughtful. Then Mom chimed in, her voice sickly sweet. "Well, I guess since Brenda didn't really get us anything, she won't be expecting any gifts either." That seems fair, doesn't it? A lump formed in my throat. Without a word, I grabbed the lottery tickets back from Dad's hand. "You know what? I'll take them. Merry bloody Christmas." I stormed out, ignoring their shocked faces. Screw the family dinner. I texted my coworker, Evelyn. "Hey, you still at the restaurant? Mind some company." An hour later, I was sitting at the bar of the closed restaurant, sipping cheap champagne with Evelyn. As the night went on, we shared stories about terrible families and crushed dreams. It wasn't a perfect Christmas, but at least I didn't feel so alone. A few days later, I was at work as usual. During my break, I checked my phone and saw a missed call from an unknown number. "Probably just another scam," I muttered, tossing the phone aside. But then it rang again, the same number. Curiosity got the better of me, so I answered. "Hello, is this Brenda Thompson?" A cheerful voice asked. "Yeah, who's this?" I replied. "This is Amy from the State Lottery Commission. I'm calling to inform you that you're holding a winning ticket." I almost dropped the phone. "Are you serious?" "Absolutely. One of your tickets matched all the numbers in the Christmas drawing. After taxes, your winnings come to $750,000. The world spun around me. I couldn't believe it. This was my chance to finally open my own restaurant and show everyone what I was capable of. I rushed home, my heart racing with excitement. I burst through the front door. "You won't believe what happened," I said, barely able to contain myself. My family was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at me like I was crazy. "I won the lottery," I blurted out. "One of the tickets, the one I was going to give Mom, it won $750,000 after taxes." For a moment, there was stunned silence. Then Emma's voice cut through the air. "That money belongs to us," she screeched. "You bought those tickets as gifts for Mom and Dad, and anything that's theirs is mine." It felt like a slap in the face. "What?" "No, they gave the tickets back to me. They're mine." Mom and Dad exchanged a look. "Brenda," Dad said slowly, "be reasonable. You live under our roof, you owe us. Now hand over that ticket. We'll take care of everything." I took a step back, instinctively placing my hand over my pocket where the ticket was. "No," I said, surprised by how calm my voice sounded. "This is my ticket, my win, and I'm going to use it to open my own restaurant." Dad's face turned red with anger. Now you listen here, young lady. No, you listen, I shouted, all my frustration finally spilling out. I've spent my whole life being treated like I don't matter in this family. Well, not anymore. This is my chance, and I'm taking it. If that's how you feel, Mom said coldly, then you can get out of this house. Now. I stared at them, my own family, who were supposed to love me no matter what. In that moment, I saw them clearly for the first time. Fine, I whispered. I'm gone. I stormed up to my room, threw some clothes and essentials into a bag, and walked out. They watched me leave, probably thinking I'd come crawling back in a day or two. They couldn't have been more wrong. My first stop was the lottery office to claim my winnings, and then I went straight to a real estate agent. I need an apartment, I told the surprised agent. Something available right away. By that evening, I was sitting in my very own place. It wasn't much, just a small one-bedroom in a decent part of town, but it was mine, all mine. Sitting on the floor, I hadn't bought furniture yet, eating takeout, and scrolling through restaurant equipment catalogs on my phone, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. The first thing I needed was a solid business plan. I spent weeks hunched over my laptop, researching, crunching numbers, and planning every detail. After what felt like a million revisions, I finally had a plan I was proud of. Next step, finding the right location. I searched the city until I found it a small, rundown space that had been empty for years. The landlord almost laughed when I told him I wanted to turn it into a restaurant. Good luck with that, sweetheart, he said, chuckling as he handed me the keys. I spent the next 5 months transforming that dump into my dream. I hired contractors, chose every fixture, and scrubbed every inch myself. It was tough work, but every blister and bruise felt like a badge of honor. Finally, opening day arrived. I stood in the kitchen, my kitchen, surrounded by the staff I had personally chosen and trained. The first order came in, and I felt a rush of excitement. Let's do this, I said, tying on my apron. The first few months were a whirlwind. I worked 15-hour days, cooking, managing, and doing whatever was needed. Slowly but surely, word started to spread. People loved my food, not just for the taste but for the love and creativity I poured into every dish. I introduced a loyalty program for regular customers, giving them special discounts and early access to new menu items. It was a hit. Soon, I had a group of regulars who came in so often they felt like family. But I didn't stop there. I set up a delivery service, partnering with local couriers to bring my food right to people's homes. It was a risk, and managing quality was tough at first, but it paid off. Social media became my best tool. I posted daily specials, behind-the-scenes kitchen videos, and engaged with customers online. My follower count grew, and so did my customer base. For years in, I was finally turning a profit. It wasn't huge, but it was something, and it was all mine. I started looking for a second location to open another restaurant. In some ways, it was easier because I knew what I was doing, but in other ways, it was harder. I couldn't be everywhere at once anymore, so I had to learn to trust my staff to keep up my standards when I wasn't there. But we made it work, and 6 years later, I opened a third location. Before I knew it, I was the owner of a successful chain of restaurants, me, Brenda Thompson, the girl who was never supposed to succeed. It wasn't easy. There were nights when I cried myself to sleep, wondering if I was in over my head. There were days when I wanted to quit. But every time I walked into one of my restaurants, saw the happy customers, and smelled the amazing food, I knew it was all worth it. One regular Thursday, I was in my office going over the books for my newest restaurant when my phone rang. I looked at the screen and froze. It was a number I hadn't seen in years. Home. I almost let it go to voicemail, but curiosity got the better of me. I answered cautiously. Hello? Brenda, it's Mom. Her voice sounded awkward. Look, I know we've had our differences, but we need your help. It's about Emma. Of course it was. It was always about Emma. What about her? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. Dad got on the line. She's in trouble, Brenda. She lost her job. They're accusing her of theft, and now no one will hire her. We were hoping you might have a job for her at one of your restaurants. I almost laughed. After everything they'd put me through, they had the nerve to ask me for a favor. But then I thought about Emma. No matter what, she was still my sister. "Let me talk to her," I said. Emma came on the line, sounding small and scared. "Brenda, I'm sorry for everything. I really need help." I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. "Okay," I said. "I'll give you a job, but no special treatment. If you mess up, you're out. Got it?" "Yes. Thank you. Thank you," Emma said, relieved. The next morning, Emma showed up right on time, looking nervous but determined. I put her to work as an administrator, starting her with simple tasks and gradually giving her more responsibility. To my surprise, she took it seriously. She was focused during training, asked good questions, and didn't complain. One night, after we finished closing the restaurant, Emma broke down in tears. "I need to tell you the truth," she sobbed. "I didn't steal anything from my last job. My boss tried to force himself on me. When I refused, he fired me and spread rumors that I was a thief." A wave of anger rose in me. "Why didn't you report him? Who would believe me over him?" Emma wiped her eyes. "I was so scared, Brenda. I didn't know what to do." "I believe you," I said. "I believe you," I said, pulling Emma into a hug. "And I'm going to help you, okay? We'll figure this out together." Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into teaching Emma everything I knew about running a restaurant. She soaked it all up like a sponge, eager to learn and prove herself. Watching her confidently handle a busy rush of customers, I felt both proud and uneasy. Emma was learning fast and working hard, but a small voice in the back of my mind warned me not to let my guard down completely. At first, everything seemed perfect. Emma worked harder than I'd ever seen her before. She was always the first to arrive and the last to leave, taking on extra shifts and volunteering for the toughest tasks. But then, I started hearing whispers. At first, I thought it was just gossip, but the rumors kept growing louder. One day, Kyle, my head chef, pulled me aside. "I think you need to know something," he said. "Your sister, she's been saying some things, stirring up trouble." A chill ran down my spine. "What kind of things?" Kyle looked uncomfortable. "She's telling people they're underpaid, and that you're keeping all the profits for yourself. She's even suggested that we go on strike." I couldn't believe it. "That's ridiculous. You all know how tight our margins are. I've always been open about the finances." "We know, boss," Kyle assured me. "None of us believe her, but there's more. She's been telling people that the restaurant rightfully belongs to her, that you somehow cheated her out of her share of the family money." It felt like a punch to the gut. After everything I'd done for her, this was how she repaid me? That evening, I confronted Emma, my hands shaking with anger and disappointment. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" I demanded. Emma looked at me with wide, innocent eyes. "What are you talking about, sis?" I laid out everything I'd heard. To my shock, Emma just shrugged. "Oh, that," she said casually. "I was just testing the staff's loyalty, making sure they wouldn't turn on you. Looks like they passed with flying colors." I wanted to believe her, really, I did. But there was something in her eyes, a cold, calculating glint that made me hesitate. Before I could say more, there was a frantic knock on my office door. Isabella, my assistant manager, burst in, looking pale and scared. "Brenda, we've got a problem," she said. "There's a big shortage in the cash register. Over $7,000 is missing." We spent the next few hours going through the books, checking and double-checking the numbers. There was no mistake, a lot of cash had disappeared. Only 6 people had access to that register: Isabella, Kyle, and Emma. Isabella and Kyle had been with me since the beginning, through all the ups and downs. I trusted Isabella and Kyle completely. As if reading my thoughts, Emma came over and whispered, "You know, I've seen Isabella staying late a lot lately. And she did just buy that fancy new car." Watching Emma walk away, I knew I had a big decision to make. I couldn't ignore this, too much was at stake. My business, my reputation, and the jobs of all my loyal employees. Late one night, after everyone had gone home, I installed hidden cameras near the cash registers. It felt wrong, like I was betraying my staff, but I had no other choice. For days, I watched hours of boring footage, my eyes aching from staring at the screen. Then, on the 6th night, I saw it. Emma, moving quickly and sneakily, opened the register, and stuffed wads of cash into her pockets. My heart sank. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I called the police. The next day, as Emma finished her shift, 4 officers walked in. The look on her face shock, then anger told me everything I needed to know. She started thrashing around, knocking over tables, and sending dishes crashing to the floor. "I deserve this money," she yelled. "I should be rich, not you. You stole my life." As the police led her away, I felt nothing, no sadness, no regret. Just a hollow emptiness where my love for my sister used to be. The next day, my parents stormed into the restaurant. Mom was crying, and Dad's face was bright red with anger. "How dare you?" Dad yelled. "Your own sister. Drop the charges now." I stood my ground. "No. She stole from me. She needs to face the consequences." I pulled out my phone and showed them the footage of Emma stealing. "Look," I said, "this is what your precious Emma did. She's a thief." They watched, their faces turning pale, but instead of understanding, their expressions hardened. "You set her up," Mom accused. "You've always been jealous of her." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Jealous? Are you kidding me? You gave me scraps and expected me to be grateful. Well, I'm done." Emma made her choices, and now she has to live with them. They tried everything, shouting, pleading, even threatening me, but I stayed firm. "Get out," I finally said. "Get out of my restaurant, and get out of my life. If you don't leave now, I'm calling the police." They left, but not before Dad spat out. "You'll regret this, Brenda. Mark my words." The trial was a nightmare. Emma's tearful performance on the stand almost made me doubt myself. But then a surprise witness came forward, her former boss. He testified about how Emma had behaved at her last job, aggressively pursuing him and even threatening to accuse him of sexual harassment if she didn't get her way. When her boss rejected her advances, she stole money from the company out of revenge. In the end, the jury found her guilty. As they led her away, she looked at me one last time. There was no regret in her eyes, only cold hatred. I haven't spoken to my family since that day. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder if I made the right choice. But then I look around at what I've built, at the life I've created for myself, and I know I did. As I stand in the kitchen of my newest restaurant, watching my staff prepare for the dinner rush, a sense of peace washes over me. This is my family now. This is my home, and no one, Emma, my parents, no one can take that away from me.